Um, Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm speaking from Dubai. I'm a Bahraini from Bahrain, small island in the middle of the Gulf, but very well known for AI and the innovation amongst its youth, the graduates and the students, because we believe this is the strength that we have in this part of the world. We are moving up, ranking year by year, to place ourselves amongst the big ones in terms of innovation, not just going for the ready-made packages, but more of the AI. So today I have many slides, but I don't think we'll be going through them for the shortage of the time, but also for the background that most of you, I believe, have on AI. And I will probably focus more when we get to the slides related to the AI and cybersecurity, because I think that's the area that we will have to focus and distinguish ourselves. So what is, you all know AI, I'm sure, because again, excuse my ignorance if I don't know the levels of the people who are listening at their expertise in AI, but AI, again, many of us think that this is something new. It came up in the last decade, and people who worked on it, and the gentleman earlier mentioned about the big five, and three of them, and if they think that they have developed AI, but that's not true, because it's been there since 1956 in the universities. It hasn't picked up because of the lack of the processing power, because of the machines, because of the storage, because of many restrictions. The AI been through different heartaches, mainly in early 80s or late 70s, and then late 80s, what they were known as the winter of the AI 1 and 2, where people thought that this is not going to pick up. And also nowadays, with different cinemas coming, metaverse and other augmented or virtual reality technologies, people believe AI is part of it, and even 4.0. But that is not the case, because we talked about both. What are the challenges? How it's developing? If we can just go quickly through the next slides, please. The next page, please, Divya. Can you see the still on the first slide? Hello, Divya. Can we move the slides? I think I'm still stuck on the first one with if you have the control.
Sir, which slide do you want, sir?
Yeah, can you just move one by one quickly? So I'll tell you, as to move. So just go next one, please, and then I'll tell you to keep moving. I don't think it's moving, yeah.
Not moving.
I think if you just do slideshow and then click on the arrow. This is not on the slideshow now. Sorry, I don't have the control of it because I'm just joining from the mobile, and I've asked kindly Devia to run it for me. No, that's just done right at the end. Yeah, just move to the next one. So these are the topologies, the moving too fast. But anyway, what I wanted to also stress upon is that, we all talk about AI and how important it is and the algorithms and also the infrastructure. I think nowadays the reliance is not on the platform, not on the infrastructure, because that becomes for organizations a commodity. Whether you have an in-house servers or cloud, that's not something you want to keep in. But it goes on the algorithms, on the expertise that you have different algorithms, and the data. The data is something that many organizations are missing when they implement AI, and that is because it essentially evolves around unreadiness of the organizations when they implement. And if you could go to the next page, please. In the next 3 years, by 2026, the amount of data around the world is going to be 19.2 zettabytes. When you talk about zettabyte, we're talking about 21 zeros. That's very huge. And the big data is going to play mass war. And in terms of the cleaning the data, having the structured, unstructured data, tagging the data, having the right historical data, and even what is known as the data privacy and rules and regulations that evolves around it. So it's not only about how to get the data and how to use it in AI and look at the patterns, but it's also about what type of data we need. Do you have the right data scientists? I mean, some organizations are always intending to renovate their technological platforms, but they have never, over the years, paid so much attention towards the structure of the data and how the data is going to work for them in future. Now, if you go next page, please. And then I think coinciding with that is what type of algorithms, how machine learning and deep learning differ from one another, and how do we, and which areas do we use NLPs versus training, and some words from the previous gentleman. How do we train the data? And which levels do you use? Do we go for the supervised, do we go for reinforcement learning? And today, ChatGPT, which I'll come in a few minutes, is a prime example of that. This is something that has been there for a while, but it has evolved now, and everybody is trying to probably replicate ChatGPT. The Chinese were doing it, Google did, in BART. They did a Medcom, where it is a medical, palm algorithms where they can have a conversational doctors. So if you go move on, please. I just want to go to the sake of time. Yeah, go more, please. Not so many yet. And go on, please. And of course, when we talk about AI in detecting panels and the forecasting, this is the areas that it is a strength, but it's also is an area that I want to talk about in terms of security and how this could fire back and how it can be our defensive layer. If you go back, go forward, please, Divya. Yeah, and go on. These I just want you to look at very quickly. See, these are some of the applications that I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about them. But for instance, in the healthcare, how AI is prevailing with predicting canceric diseases, early detections of the heart diseases. If you go to the banking sectors, the new banks, NEO banks, how these are creating with AI banks without boundaries, without having to banks without a front desk, without the investments, without having even a structure. The entire banking system, which is 8% now in Russia, Australia, Canada, and up to a certain extent in India, are moving towards the AI-driven banks. Next, please. And this is where I'm going to come with the security. Customer services. This is one of the first jobs that, again, will come at the end and talk about that is disappearing because of the AI rise that haven't, and really is fast-tracking through the COVID, if we look at it from the positive perspective. And the cybersecurity now, I want to hold it there and bring this. I want to talk about two things here and distinguish between AI and cybersecurity and AI. And they are two different things. Now, over the years, if we look at the cybersecurity, it's been established as cyber criminals, which are the real people who have, if we keep on the first part of the cybersecurity here. So the hackers that they try to, with the knowledge, with the analysis of the networks, perform attacks, ransomwares, phishing, but go on the dark side and use it for commercial purposes. And on the other side, you have organizations where they have different additional tools like IDSR, intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention systems. They have their firewalls, they have their malware detectors, and antiviruses. And they established in the past few years what they call it this cybersecurity control systems, where there are different individuals around the clock monitoring the attacks, and the cybersecurity manager try to update the network with the latest patches and avoid and anticipate the attacks. Now, that was working well until recently, because that was the human beings trying to control from both sides, from the attacks and from the defense part. But now this has suddenly evolved to become some sort of a new evolution of cybersecurity. And that started when cyber criminals use machine learning to attack. They no longer have to use their own skills, power, their analytical skills. They have something much more powerful, much faster and deeper, analyzing the networks, looking at the patterns, looking at the historical patterns of the congested networks, and decide on the attacks at various times. And autonomously the attacks happen. These attacks do not, they are not part of any interactions by human. Many federal agencies in the US in the past few years have been attacked where the attackers were not identified, or there were no sources of the IP addresses that have generated them. This, of course, doesn't mean that they have used other countries' IP addresses to attack, but basically that was the work of the human. Now, with that picking up, it has become a big alarm for defenders, for organizations to defend their networks through human, because human can no longer match machines in terms of defending attacks that are prompted by artificial intelligence. They're much faster, they're much deeper. They can even place, as we call it, ransomwares, softwares in your network that continuously monitors you without you being able to identify them. So now, I think the major cybersecurity vendors are working backwards to dismantle the traditional defense systems, because no longer that can work in future. You can't really match AI-prompted cybersecurity attacks with human be able to defend them. So this is where I'm coming, our story of AI and cybersecurity and AI. So first part is we surely need AI to identify and look at the patterns and look at the abnormalities and the behaviors of the network to identify the threats are forthcoming and be able to autonomously, as they would autonomously attack you, to be able to alert your network and close, as you see in some of the slides, close the ports, change the IP addresses, divert the websites, and even close the devices within your network that are incapable of doing that. And by the way, I think in near future, the cloud computing also will not be able to match these attacks. So that's as far as the AI in cybersecurity is concerned. But don't forget, AI itself is also vulnerable to attacks. And this is where we call the other part of it, which is cybersecurity in AI. And this is the part that we building algorithms are subject to attacks by cyber criminals. Now, this is even deeper problem because, you know, AI not being able to protect your network, the cybersecurity criminals can go to certain places, but human can again come as a second option and activate itself. But if they attack your algorithms, especially where the decision making is, you know, part of your algorithms, in the heart of it is the decision making. And if that has been attacked, your entire network will be taken control. And not only they attack it, but they can give wrong indications. And if the autonomous activities are on your network, this will be catastrophic for any organization. Now, this is a bigger issue also because as far as human is concerned, you know, when you put a machine learning, it has to learn by itself to develop the cybersecurities within its credentials to be able to learn from the attacks, learn from what are the trends that is happening, and be able to reprogram itself to do so. So these two, I guess, AI and security and cybersecurity and AI will be making it more complex for the defenders as much as the attackers to do so. Now, you all heard recently about ChatGPT. Now, ChatGPT is also something that has been quickly risen. People are making use of it, but only in the past 3 months, there has been so many incidents that cybersecurity criminals or other individuals have misused ChatGPT. Because now ChatGPT, until now, if you are a cyber criminal, you need to know coding. You need to know Python or C++ or Java to create a code to penetrate the network. Otherwise, the normal individuals cannot do this. Now, ChatGPT makes it easier, and that has been verified with real cases, that it can develop a malware within the network by instruction that you can place it in the networks. And it's like a ransomware, because if you get a malware and put it in somebody's PC, it's just a ransomware. Because on the other side, it can also encrypt your entire data and take control of it. So that has been more advantageous to the cyber criminals, to the cyber attackers, than the defenders. So people without coding knowledge can do that. And also cyber, it can be activated on the dark side by many intruders to use ChatGPT to provide them with commercial ideas on how to, for instance, do human trafficking, do fraud management, etc. Fraud management is a big part of it, because fraud management until now is done by human. It takes them 6 to 8 months with many of, I'm sorry, I'm not catching up with the slides, but it's taking 6 to 8 months to find out if the frauds are genuine or not. And this is really goes beyond the capabilities. And the examples of AI, it takes from 120 to 180 seconds. That's 2 to 3 minutes. But ChatGPT can bring that also into the service by using it. It can increase the fraudulence, not the fraud management team of the banks. It helps the fraudulence how to bring other ideas. And don't forget, it can also run with autonomous using AI on the ChatGPT to continuously update itself and do so. But last but not least, you can also, as I said earlier, you can attack the heart of the AI's decision making. And if you can attack ChatGPT's engines, and nowadays there are many other examples, Chinese made one, like Google's made a couple, and a few other ones. If you can attack that part, you can provide with the wrong advisors, with the wrong decisions to the organizations to deceive them. And if that is part of their network, to deceive them to go somewhere else. Now, I think if you just go maybe to the other slide, I was just trying to pave a way around how AI is changing the cybersecurity of the future and how cybersecurity cannot continue. It cannot continue with the traditional ways, with the traditional equipment. I've witnessed many of them, I don't want to name them, that they're trying to improve their defense system by bringing AI, but that's very minimal because the structure remains of the information security equipment, same as before, with minimal changes entering AI into them, but that's not enough. They need to restructure, they have to redesign it from the scratch. Pass the fraud detection, please, and just my couple of last slides. Next, please. Yeah, I mean, even in the facial recognitions, is another security hole that by penetrating the facial recognition systems and the images through AI, that becomes easier to use them for password detections, for any security credentials that are used. Next, please. Well, the aviations, that's another part that AI has in the labs theoretically shown that future aircrafts are going to be autonomous. They're not going to be pilots running on them. And that's good and bad because somebody has proven that if you can penetrate the internet to the passenger area of the airplane, and then through the network, internal network, go to the cockpit, because the cockpit is connected through a different internet to the ground system, you can again take control of the aircraft. And that's as bad as taking control of the network. That becomes cybersecurity in AI, not an AI in cybersecurity. And obviously that will be the biggest ransomware that you can think of if that is taken over. Next, please. So the call centers and how they answer the calls, this is ChatGPT, and we're given some examples of how can that deceive, but these are minimal compared to the more deeper problems that can happen. I think my time has run out. Divya, I think I got a couple of minutes. So just go quickly, yeah, and I don't want to go through these. Each of them is a deep and lengthy discussions, so it's no point starting it and ending it very quickly. If we go to the jobs of the future, maybe quickly. Divya. Yeah, in HR, there's a lot happening on the interviews. The interviews now is happening the face recognitions with the images. Again, you could manipulate through AI attackers to recruit people, if you can, silently, and give the bias to the people that you would like to perform, and it will take time for them to do. So this brings another issue in how the auditing on some of the AI-driven equipment is done, and that has to be, again, as we talked about cybersecurity, there is a AI in auditing, where the auditing has to be done by AI, not by individuals, to recognize that this has been biased or not. I think the jobs of the future also will change, because there will be more and more dependence on the data scientists and the auditors who are using AI for the jobs. Well, thank you very much for listening to me. I don't know if there is any questions, but I think I got up to 7 o'clock our time. And thank you again for listening. Devia, thanks for inviting me. I'm sorry about my crazy schedule running from one place to another.